It took him forever to get out, and then he ran over like a gazelle. It was like a dainty gazelle trying to not spill her cocktail on the.
Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Friends with Cars podcast.
F1
Talk.
F1 Talk.
We're doing live.
We're doing it live. We're talking about Silverstone today, but before we go into that, as well as going to our previous predictions and going to the podcast, we do want to do a shout out to our friend Gabe, who created the graphic illustration that is previewed at the beginning of this video. So we appreciate you, Gabe. Shout out to Gabe.
Thanks, girl.
I call that a fan art.
Yeah, fan art.
He loves the podcast, but we normally
is that fan art or is that more like fetish art? I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm not producers. Fetish art.
Yeah,
fetish
got
art.
it.
Yep.
Okay.
Fetish art.
Well, thanks, Gabe.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, as we've done in the past two podcasts, we are going to go into our predictions that we did last episode.
The race just ended. This is fresh.
This is fresh for us.
Fresh.
So, Gustavo, first prediction was Hamilton would get top three. Got top three.
My money don't jiggle.
It folds.
Second prediction was Perez would get second place, which was fucking spot on.
It
Yeah.
folds.
It folds. And then the third prediction was K-Mac finishes sixth. He finished 10th.
Damn it.
Damn it. Points. Jessica here, first prediction was Russell gets a DNF.
Oh,
Got a DNF spot on.
You know your Mercedes boys, eh?
Second prediction, Hamilton wins, just one off. And then the third prediction was Daniel Ricciardo top five. Did not end in the points.
That was the most awkward prediction.
And I'm going to keep predicting it every time.
And in Jessica's defense, though, Hamilton did win. You mean for him?
I don't know what do you mean.
Well, Silverstone. He
Yeah.
got on the podium.
Got it. That was a
Didn't
win.
complain about his back hurting.
You're right. It was a win for him.
My first prediction was Lando top seven. That is the case.
Very nice.
Opposite of what Jessica predicted, I voted or predicted that Ricciardo would not get in the top 10.
Ooh.
And that is definitely the case.
Hey, you go with love or you go with truth? I go with truth all the time.
And I was just one off for the Lewis Hamilton prediction. I got Lewis gets fourth.
Okay. Nice.
So, well, our predictions cancel out since we both get two each. Jessica only got one. Technically, she's supposed to drink, but she drank way too much last night, so she's not going to be taking a shot right now.
We'll give her a pass.
Give her a pass. She's going to be drinking her cocktail here.
I got a little book of wine.
I will keep a book of these old shots, and I don't want you to make up for it now. I think
I will.
I think I want to hold on to this until a day I decide.
That's fair.
And then
and I have to take all shots.
Yeah, it's like the slap on Friends, the slap. Was it on Friends where they had the slap, Chandler? Yeah, it was a slap. Anyway, if you're a Friends fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. No, I'm sorry, it was How I Met Your Mother. Anyway,
There you go.
But once we get to that point, I want to cash in all my slaps, meaning all my shots.
We'll keep it in the book. We'll keep it in the books.
We'll put that on a separate page.
All right, I like it.
All right. Well, let's jump right into it. What are your guys' first lap reactions?
Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
Absolutely wild. It's been a while since we've had a red flag in the first lap of a race. So absolutely wild. I think we all had the same reaction. Everyone saw it in the background. It wasn't even in the foreground. We just saw a car upside down in the gravel and going across the screen. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? Hopefully they're good. Definitely a wild race. There's a lot going on with 3 or 4 cars. Actually, no, it was 5 cars that got DNF'd at the beginning, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm sorry.
It was 3 cars.
3 cars that got DNF'd.
There was 5 cars that were involved in it. Yeah.
2 cars still had to get repaired in the pits while it was red flag, but it was absolutely crazy. Glad to hear that Zhou is good, though.
Absolutely. You know what? As much as it angers me or that I wasn't able to see what was actually going on, I do appreciate that the cameras don't go to the wreckage because, it's kind of, not could be a little bit insensitive to show someone's brains spilling out of the helmet.
Right.
So I appreciate that. But, what an exciting first lap. I mean, red flags are almost never a nice thing to have because it's a delay in, rain or whatever. But the fact that this changed the race so much.
Oh, for sure.
That's what makes it exciting. It sucks that Zhou was out and he had that horrible accident, but the fact that it changed the race so much is what made it so much more exciting for me.
And it's crazy how the car ended up stuck in like the barrier upside down, like he couldn't get out. Like it's just, and had a halo not been put in place when it was, pretty much he would have skidded his helmet across the ground the whole way there. So, it makes sense why they have all these safety precautions, and it's good to see that it works and it's beneficial and it's saving people's lives.
Let's say professional Formula One video game driver. I can say the halo is super annoying when you're trying to drive. I know the
First person point of view.
I know there's a setting where you can remove the center, but it's annoying. But as in real life, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I do want to ask you guys the question, though. So they got red flagged. They had to come into the pits. Not all cars went through the safety car detection zone.
Right.
So they had to revert back to the position where they started the race at. If that was not the case, that means Max would have been in first position, restarting the race.
Right. And Hamilton would have been in third.
And Hamilton would have been in third. Hamilton ended in third still.
Right, but still.
Would that have changed Max's race?
I think it could. Listen, that was a new rule for me. A new thing. I've never heard of that before, but not that I've,
Well, and we've never been in this position, I think,
Right.
before as well.
So that was a new one for me. So it was surprising to see that was the rule, that they had to go back and start the way they started. I think it would have changed the race if they would have restarted with whoever was in the lead at the time, because I think Max said he picked up a puncture or something with the carbon fiber. Now, it might not even happen that way. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it was just the car. Mm-hmm. But if that was the case, I think, yeah, absolutely. I think that would have changed the outcome, because he probably wouldn't have been in the same position.
Oh, for sure. Well, I don't necessarily think that it would change the race, too, because if he did technically pick up debris, in the front, would he have not picked up the same debris?
Well, he could have. Yeah. I was just thinking about at that particular time, he went off the curb on a certain turn, but he was actually following. He was on second place. Mm-hmm. So if he would have been on, actually no, by that time he already passed. If he would have been on first place like he was, pause for station identification.
Hey, we're working over here.
We're doing live.
Put you on the street.
So going back, I think if Max would have started first, he might have built up. He had the speed. He might have built up the lead. It would have been a little farther out. If the race started with him at the front, I think he might have taken off a little bit.
Oh,
that was the only change. He had to follow and then pass. This way, he would have been at the front the whole time.
Right, and I guess you can see that, and I will get into it later. But with how fast Sergio's car was, it's pretty obvious that they had the pace this weekend. And you're right, he probably would have won the race.
Ridiculous pace.
Yeah,
he was fast. Insane. Very fast.
But speaking about pace, Russell did get out of his car to help Zhou, or just to see what he could do. But his race pace got ruined for doing that.
It was a nice gesture, and you kind of can't help but think of other drivers, so like Senna, who have done that.
Yeah.
Stop in the middle of the race to try to help a driver. I can see that. I can appreciate that he did that, and it's nice. However, just like in life, you can't just leave your car unattended and expect that it's going to be when you get back if you leave it unlocked. That's what Russell did. And if you look at the video, he literally got out of it. It took him forever to get out of his car, by the way. If his car was on fire, he would have probably not made it. But it took him forever to get out. And then he ran over like a gazelle. It was like a dainty gazelle trying to not spill her cocktail on the way to the pool.
But also, I do give him some respect for actually getting out of the car and trying to help.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But that cost him continuing on the race, because, as we know, then he ran back to the garage to ask why the car wasn't starting. And then when he got back to the car, it was on the bed of the truck. And it was like, wait a minute. And he was like, well, you can't just walk away from the car, buddy. It's not the way it works.
It's true.
Did they talk about what type of damage he sustained after that?
He just got a puncture.
It was just a puncture.
It was his rear wheel was gone, so he probably could have driven the car back.
No suspension damage?
I think the car was perfectly fine, they said.
Yeah, I think it was the wheel. They didn't say anything about that. Now, suspension damage, there was a car that had suspension. I think it was a Cone's car that had suspension damage, and they fixed that also in the pit.
Yeah.
So they probably could have fixed it. He couldn't get the car started.
He wouldn't have made it anyways, though. If the car wasn't starting, what other option do you have to get it back to the pits to fix it? The car wouldn't have made it. If he was having issues with getting the car started back up, it was stuck in the gravel. First of all, if you're in the gravel that deep, it's difficult to get out anyways.
I don't believe the car was in the gravel. It was on the road itself.
I thought it was in the gravel.
No, I'm pretty sure it was on track still.
Oh.
That's why it was a big issue, because it was on track.
Oh.
One of the reasons I felt he was running like that was because of the gravel. But he ran later on the pit, and he ran the exact same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, Russell runs like a gazelle that's very delicate and is trying to get to the pool without spilling its drink.
Hey, and we love that. We love a
judgment.
conscious queen.
Just an observation.
Well, moving on, what about the upgrades this weekend we saw? I mean, we saw some upgrades with Mercedes, which made them more competitive, but we also saw Albon get upgrades that Latifi did not.
My favorite upgrade of this weekend was Williams upgrading Albon's car and not Latifi. Now, if you're Latifi, you're probably sitting going like, damn it.
Yeah.
I am the runt of the litter. I am the guy that's always on last place. And I also got the car that's not going to get the shiny bow tie.
Yep.
Albon gets the car that's nice. Rain happens. As it turns out, Latifi gets lucky enough to get in a lap that nobody else could pass because of the rain. So he gets into Q3, which Albon did not make it to Q3. Fast forward to the race today. There's a little accident. The car that's out is Albon. And he got pinballed in that exchange. So he's out. So that's my favorite upgrade. Albon gets the upgrade. He got all the potential to score some nice points and see what the car will do with the upgrade. And they got nothing.
Well, and that's just how the cookie crumbles down at Williams.
They got nothing, just like Latifi did at the end of the race.
Man, he started 8th, right? No.
Yeah.
Did he start 8th?
He started 10th.
He started 10th.
At
Got
the
8th.
restart, at the restart, he started 9th. So technically, if it was a restart, that was his highest start on F1, 9th.
Yeah.
And I think he ended up 14th.
But at one point he was 8th.
At one point, he was 8th.
8th, but he got pushed back to 12th, I think.
Yeah, because Ricardo stayed in 14th. He started at 14th and finished at 14th.
Dang, what's going on with that guy?
Hey,
What is going on with him?
Is he on the subject, Ricardo? Is he on the subject to talk about?
Yeah, we can talk about Ricardo.
Why is Ricardo still racing?
Oh.
Unpopular opinion. No, I kid, but half kid. Listen, there's so obviously some issues going on.
I will turn this car around.
There's obviously some issues going on. You can't have your teammate finish 6th place, 7th place, and you finish 14th. That's insane. What is going on?
I agree with that.
Out. Both of you. Leave. Out the door.
See you guys later.
What do you do any better on a different team with a different car?
I don't know. I think so.
He was doing all right with Alpine.
Yeah.
At the time, which was Renault.
McLaren hasn't won a race in like 20-something years, but you know who did win a race with McLaren? The only one driver to win a race with McLaren in all that time is Ricardo.
This is true.
So I don't know. You guys can chalk it up to him being a bad driver, but he still holds that title, and they can shit on him all he wants. But nobody else for McLaren has won a race.
Yeah, but they're looking at it from a constructors champion standpoint. Like, yeah, they won that one race, but there's no
They're
consistency.
fourth in the constructors championship.
I want to focus
That's
on
true.
Ricardo's contract. What does the contract say? I need to know. What does it say?
I think Zach Brown's alluded to the fact that if he doesn't perform, there's some provisions in the contract
There
that
is.
allow them to release him.
Absolutely. There is an out on the clause for both of them, and one of them is his performance. So if you get to that, I believe when they make those contracts, they make those kind of based on the driver at the time. And I think that for Ricardo, it probably was easy enough as finished top 10.
I don't know. You leave my little child out of this. You leave my little child alone.
We love him.
Well, let's move on because I'm getting very upset right now.
Next topic.
Let's talk about all the fights on track. Today was crazy. I mean, we saw teams fighting against each other. We saw crazy fights for second, third place. I mean, Mick Schumacher fighting Verstappen. Let's talk about it.
I think that's the most excited I've been since watching Formula One. I think with the exception of all the drama that happened at Abu Dhabi last year, but
Yeah.
the last 5-6 laps of this race were absolutely jam-packed with battles on track. That's
for sure.
from Leclerc fighting with signs at the beginning, at the restart after the safety car, from Lewis Hamilton fighting with Leclerc and also fighting with Sergio Perez.
Almost Alonso.
Almost Alonso. Alonso was in the mix too. Absolutely crazy. Very happy for Sainz. Carlos Sainz to get his first points, and
No,
I think
first point.
I'm sorry,
First
first
place.
podium. First place podium.
There you go. All right.
Very excited for Carlos Sainz.
Absolutely. I would have to agree with you. I think Abu Dhabi, since Hamilton was robbed of this 8th championship.
Shout out Charles Leclerc for saying he won 8 world championships and then backtracked and said 7 in an interview.
Deserves the respect, obviously. He's a 7 times world champion, but
The worst kept secret in Formula One that everybody knows, the FIA named a champion last season. Anyway, no, I agree with you. I think it was a very exciting race. I'm here. I love it. I love that Carlos Sainz. Listen, Carlos is a good driver. He's a ballsy driver. I think one of the problems he has is sometimes he just sends it a little too hard, and that's why he spins out. But I like the fact that the radio call was for him to back up the traffic so that Charles can have a clean gap. And I love that he kind of said, please, you can't do this to me. And he pretty much took his balls out, put him on the hood, and said, I'm just going to do it.
I do what I want.
I do what I want. And he did it. And he made the right call. He had the pace. He was able to do it. And he was able to get away.
He's on fresher tires.
Absolutely. The other battles behind, of course, were incredible. I loved them. My favorite one was, of course, Mick Schumacher. I know I think he's a shit driver, but man, the fact that he was 8th and he was risking his 8th place by trying to pass Max to try to get one more spot. You got to love it. A little respect for this guy.
Yeah, that's the racing heart. I still don't think he belongs in Formula One, but he's shown his little baby heart and he put it on his sleeve.
I know we have to fact check it, but during the race you had brought up that if Schumacher does not score points
in like the next 4 races, I saw
is that consecutive races? Did you read? We'll fact check.
Yeah, we'll have to fact. I didn't. I don't know if I read.
You know what? Well, inevitably, if Mick Schumacher does not start performing, which today is a good start for him to start performing with his first points in Formula One. If he doesn't start performing, I think he's really at risk of being released by Haas.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But it is great that he did win points, and he was genuinely excited. So that was nice to hear.
And I know Max's car was not doing well, according to Max. The car was not performing well, but you know, it doesn't matter. If you're racing at a 8th place level and someone's going to try to beat you or race you for that spot, I love it. I'm here for it.
Oh, for sure. Because if you don't go for the gap,
then you shouldn't be in the car.
Oh, exactly.
Going to Gustavo's point about the radio call, the team order call to have Carlos Sainz back up the pack, there was still enough race, even if he did do that, for Lewis to still get in the position that he got in. Mm-hmm. Because the idea was that they were going to back up Lewis, which would back up the entire pack. It would give Charles Leclerc an opportunity to kind of take off a little bit more, which it's a stupid-ass call anyways.
Right.
But he was on less tires, or he was on medium tires that were a little bit older. I think Carlos would have still got in front of him, and I think the result still would have been the same. Just the fact that Ferrari gave him the order to back up the pack was bullshit.
Well, but it's weird because they did tell him to back it up, but I almost felt like the team favored his strategy because he pitted under the safety car, but Charles didn't. So I think that they were actually trying to help him win, but also trying to make it seem like they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Charles is just one of those whiny children.
Yeah.
You know,
hence why he was getting pointed at by Mattia.
Oh, he got the finger waggled by mom, and that was.
Yeah, he was getting in front of everybody too.
I wish that was mic'd up.
Everybody, he should be so embarrassed.
Yeah. No, mom definitely come up to him and wag the finger and said, "I'm telling Dad when we get home."
Oh yeah.
So you know someone's in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Don't you dare say anything about the team," and yeah, it's just great. So like I said, I think that they are worried about stepping on Charles's toes because Charles is supposed to be their number 1 driver. But I think the strategy today favored Carlos, and Ferrari's just one of those teams that they don't really care who the number 1 driver is. They care who's on top. It's not like Red Bull where if both drivers are neck and neck, they're still going to pick Verstappen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Red Bull or Ferrari cares about winning, and that's important. And they're a tough team to drive for because of that.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, as a professional driver with no experience and nothing whatsoever, and I don't know what I'm talking about, I think they're in a tough. You're right. I think they're in a very tough position trying to decide who they need to benefit or push forward,
Right.
to get the win. In my personal, professional, non-experienced opinion, I think the best call they could make is to say let them race.
And they did that. I appreciate the fact that they said
They did that, but then the lap later, they told Carlos, okay, one more lap. And he's
Yeah.
like, that's not letting him race. I just think that, they made the call. They said, hey, let's let him race. And then a lap later, they're telling Sainz, okay, one more lap. And they go back and tell Charles, one more lap. He's running to the time. Like, listen, just let him fight. If you let him fight, just tell him don't crash into each other, but just let him fight.
Well, and kind of off topic, the crazy thing about it is Charles Leclerc had problems with his aerodynamics. He had some part of his front wing missing, and the fact that a similar thing happened to Max Verstappen's car and completely took him out of the run of the race just shows like how different each car is and what they really bank on to move themselves forward, because there's no way Max Verstappen was going to get into the front of this race, but Charles, even with the damage, was doing great.
Max. Are you talking about Max's damage this race?
Yeah.
He had different damage though. What the commentators were saying that he had underfloor damage.
Oh.
So a lot of the aerodynamics on the car this season come from underneath the car. It's not from the aerodynamics from above.
Okay,
So it's actually being sucked down.
Got it, because Charles was front wing damage.
You're making sense. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Cut that out.
But I think to Jessica's point is, you're right. I think there was some very evident visible damage to the car, and it seemed to not affect Charles at all.
Right.
None.
As other cars had front wing damage, they usually have to pit because they can't control the car. There's a tire wear that's not happening evenly. But for Charles Leclerc, it didn't seem to affect him.
Right.
So I think if I was Ferrari and any other team, I would take a hard look at that and be like, wait a minute, do we even need that part?
Right. Yeah. Well, Sergio Perez got front wing damage, and he had to come out of the race and get a whole new front wing.
Absolutely. He wasn't made to. He actually did as part of the team, right? So it was not like the Supers forced him to do it. So
well,
speaking of Perez,
I was going to say that leads me into my next one. Let's talk about the driver of the day himself, Perez, getting in not only into the points from last race, but podiuming. I'm not saying that word right. Podiuming.
Podium. See, now it's not even a word. I can't.
Yeah. Podiuming.
Podium, plural.
Getting a podium. There you go.
Yeah. I was going to say, some people thrive under pressure, and some people are Sergio Perez. I don't know where this guy came from. He was in Formula One for 10 years and couldn't get a win. It could have been because of the team. He's always been a good driver. He's always done well. He just needed to be in that team that can provide him a car that can race. I don't know who else has done this as much as he's done, but we've seen it time and time again where it's at the back of the pack and somehow ends up in the point.
Oh, for sure.
He did it this race. I mean, he's in the back. He had to stop. He was clearly in the back, and he made up some time. I don't know what he does to those tires. He's able to run them for so long, picked up the pace, passed everybody, and here we are, taking second place.
I do want to call out his dad, though. His dad seems to be so proud of him.
Oh, for
you
sure.
could see, as he is watching him on the podium, you could see the pride in that dad's eyes. Good.
I was going to say Sergio and his dad's relationship is one of great convenience, I think.
Oh, they use each other.
I mean, the dad's running for president of Mexico. Of course, he's going to like it when his son's in the spotlight because he gets fans.
Right. They're like, well, he raised a champion. He can run a championship country.
But that last, ooh, man, is that hot? The last restart, though, after the safety car, Sergio had a lot more pace than Lewis.
Oh, absolutely.
They were on the same tires. They were both on brand new soft tires. And you can see the pace difference in the cars. It was absolutely crazy.
Well, it's the pace, and also I love, and I think, Jessica, you've mentioned this before, when you have some drivers that are experienced and they're good drivers, they have battles and they're next to each other and they're neck and neck.
And they never crash.
And they never crash. And I think you made a comment during the race. If that would have been Max, they would have crashed already. And I think you're right. It's unfortunate, and I think maybe they would have backed off because they know Max is going to crash into them. But the fact that we had such great battles is because you had Leclerc, you had Hamilton, you had Perez, who,
Seasoned drivers.
cool-headed, battling. No one complained afterwards.
Yeah.
No one said, "Oh, he pushed me off. He did this." They were just they were just happy to be part of the excitement.
There's a lot of respect on the track.
Absolutely.
Between the three of them with their battles.
Absolutely.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And you don't see that very often, especially when Max is at the front end. That's why people hate the fucking guy.
Yeah, me included. But do you think that, and I think we almost talk about this each time, but Sergio's getting closer and closer to being he's in contention for the world championship. Do you think that he's going to be the number 2 to Max? Or do you think at this point, if I was Sergio, I would start doing like craziness and start doing my own thing on the team?
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I think he needs to have the same mentality as Carlos Sainz,
Yeah.
right? You're right. He's only 35, 34 points off of Max for first place. At this point, the team should not
Favor one driver
over the next just because it is so close. But, it's so political, and we know that. It's very political. But if that's the case, if it ever got down to that, I think Sergio Perez needs to man up a little bit.
Boss up.
And put his balls on the hood.
Exactly. No, I agree. And I think, and you're absolutely right, but I also feel Red Bull is going to back Max 100%.
I see, and that's the difference.
That's shitty.
Yeah, that is shitty, but that's the difference between Ferrari, I think, and Red Bull, is because Ferrari wants whoever's winning that day.
Oh, absolutely. I think you heard in the radio, Ferrari was torn between their 2 drivers.
Right.
I've never heard that from Red Bull.
Right.
And I don't think we'll ever hear that from Red Bull as long as Max is performing. And listen, Max is performing at a high level. I totally get it. And there's something about Sergio not qualifying in P1, but then having enough pace to actually be P1.
Right.
I mean, the fact that the guy can't qualify higher than 4th on this one particular qualifier, but then he gets from last place to second place is like, God damn, he's such a good driver.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just different performance styles, but I don't think we'll ever see a time where Red Bull is going to favor Checo over Max, unless he's got a definite lead,
Right.
where Max cannot catch him, and then I can see that. Hey, listen, you're going to finish second, Max. There's no way you can catch him. Let's just go with that. Mm-hmm. We're going to get the constructors.
Which I really hope that in the next couple of races, like Checo does really well and comes back and gets really close. I'd love to see Checo as a world champion way more than I'd love to see Max. And then I could say for the rest of my life that the only reason Max won a championship is because it was handed to him, and all the other times he had the opportunity, he didn't.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of if Max wins this season and it's not close, I think we can definitely say he won his first championship.
Right.
I think we'll be okay with that. I think the problem he has is if he doesn't win this season, then no one's going to recognize him as a champion because, let's face it, he had a lot of help from the FIA.
Well, they don't even recognize him as a champion now. Like, every time you hear they talk about Sebastian Vettel, they're like 4-time world champion, Hamilton, 7-time world champion, and then they go Max Verstappen.
Yeah, they rarely call him out as the reigning champion during the race. It's kind of a weird thing, but they rarely do that. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's the worst kept secret in Formula One right now.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, the fact that Michael Massey was moved to another position or fired ultimately,
But we know that was Toto.
based off that decision, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
The minute Toto said Mikey no, Mikey knew
He was fired.
he was gone.
Well,
Either that or dead. I mean, is he dead? I haven't heard from him. I don't know where he's at. I'm just saying. We never found Jimmy Hoffa.
They're buried in the same spot.
I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying it could have happened. Listen, as a Mexican myself, I can tell you this.
you're Mexican?
I know it's shocking. I shock myself sometimes. I can tell you this. The Mexican people, and I think we might have mentioned it before, maybe not on the podcast, but they have different. When Sergio wins, it's not Sergio winning; it's like Mexico winning. And I feel like the Dutch people feel the same about Max. You know, when Max wins, it's like Max. It's like the Dutch people won, right? So I think this is where we are with it. If we get Checo, it's going to be insane. Mm-hmm. It's going to be crazier than any other champion ever because, well, first, I don't think Mexico's ever had a champion in Formula One. And I want to say Checo's probably the most successful Mexican driver that we've had so far.
Probably.
So, Red Bull, if you're listening, I know you are. If you want to make more money, the guy you got to back is the guy who's making the sales for you.
Right.
By the way, his dad's going to be the next president in Mexico.
Well, I mean, to wrap up, do you guys want to do our next race predictions? What race is next?
It is the Spielberg race. It is the
Steven Spielberg.
Red Bull Ring in Austria. It's
Oh.
Red Bull's track.
Okay, well, let's start with you. What are your 3?
I'm going to go with Leclerc, P1.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Max, P2.
Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh.
And I'm going to say Sergio, P3. I'm going to go direct.
And then what are your 3 predictions?
I'm going to go straight forward.
Okay.
Max 1. Perez 2. Leclerc 3.
Oh, okay.
I was going to put Hamilton in there, but he's a work in progress. I can't put my faith on him yet. I wanted to say that Sainz is going to have this new confidence and get to the top of the podium, but I don't think he's there yet either. I think we saw that Leclerc had the pace, and he's definitely, I think he's going to do better than him. Jessica?
So I'm going to put that Sainz gets first place because I do think that he's got this newfound confidence.
Carlos?
Yeah, and he's got these new balls that are on his hood.
Oh,
so
man.
I think Hamilton's going to get P2. And then I'm going to say Ricardo finishes top 10.
You are a glutton for punishment, don't you?
But
It's like when I was picking Bottas
no,
to
no,
win.
but Ricardo was on Red Bull, so he's got an idea about this track.
Well, they all do.
But more so, Ricardo, anybody who drove for Red Bull is going to have a better idea of this track and have more experience with this track. So I think that he'll go to top 10.
Sainz 1, Hamilton 2, and Ricardo finishes top 10. That's pretty good. I would like that.
Me too.
I would like that.
Going to this balls on the hood illustration or this idea, we need to ask Gabe. Hey, Gabe, can you draw something up?
Can you draw us balls on the
We'll
hood?
put it on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Balls on the hood.
Balls on the hood.
We got merch coming, guys.
Balls on the hood coming to you soon.
All sizes and ranges. We won't leave anybody.
The shirt size, not the balls.
Oh, yes. Shirt size.
Yeah, trademark. Balls on the hood.
And you can get the balls in any color you'd like.
Oh, geez.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Ball bearings?
Ball bearings.
Ball
yeah.
bearings. Oh, see, that'd be a good one.
That'd be cool.
Ball bearings on the hood.
Yeah. Well, if that's it, I'm ready to sign out.
One more time, shout out to our fetish
Gabe.
to our fetish art creator, Gabe. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you. It looks
Cheers.
great.
See you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.